Me now, Jennifer Brozost. She's the co-founder of the New York Private Education Advisory Service. You say it's about time schools need to be moving away altogether from test scores and look at other factors instead. You say no adversity score. We should be getting rid of this altogether. So tell me a little bit about why you think maybe we shouldn't have an SAT in the first place.
Okay, well, first of all, thank you for having me. And the one thing that I have to say is I am so happy that colleges are starting to have these conversations. And I think one thing that came out of the college admissions scandal is that schools are having these real conversations about what kids need, and they're really stepping up and they're trying to make it more equitable. The SAT is problematic in itself. I think that we have, like the guy who was on before said, we have kids who don't have access to test prep. They don't have access to all the things that kids going to a great private school have access to, or even a great public school. And I think that's a problem. So I think in itself, we should find ways to move away from testing, not looking at the SAT score, but find ways to look at who the child is and having individuality, leadership. That's really where I think that it should be going. But again, as I said, I'm happy that the conversation is beginning.
How do you do that, though? I mean, what is the solution? Because you take something like Harvard. You have to accept someone in that's going to be able to handle the workload of Harvard. So there has to be some sort of baseline of a testing or something, right? And if it's not that,
right.
What is it?
Right. What is it? That is a great question. I think that right now we're having conversations to maybe find that answer. Ways to take away the test scores, which honestly, what does the test scores mean? How well you do on the SAT does not predict how well you're going to do in school. It just doesn't. The other point that you just brought up that I think is a wonderful point is that these kids that get into school, and if we have a way to really look at the whole child and who they are and how they're going to add to the community and how they're going to do well in school, the kids from lower incomes, they need to have ways to stay in school. So it's not just about finding ways to get them into school, it's about putting programs in place to keep them in school and having them be successful.
You know, if we look at any groups and we separate children by groups, won't there always be someone left out? Isn't it just so subjective?
It absolutely is subjective. But again, having these beginning conversations, opening up this Pandora's box and really starting to move towards change, I think it's so important. You know, I'm all about moving forward as opposed to moving backwards. And that's what I think this at least is attempting to do. Yeah. We'll see. We will see what happens. I mean, this is brand new. This just came out. Let's see what happens. But I am a child advocate, and I believe that every child should have the opportunity to be the best version of themselves.
That's right.
And if college is one of those opportunities, and I'm going to say one other thing, we're not just talking about Harvard, Princeton, Yale, the top schools. We're talking about schools for all kids, that they find programs that speak to them and allow them to be successful and allow them to be activists and make change. And I don't know what else to say about it. But
I think that what's also so amazing is some of these schools that aren't as high profile. It's even hard to get into these schools. I mean, it's so hard to get into college these days, and it's so competitive that there has to be some kind of solution. So at least having this discussion helps. Jennifer Brozost, thank you so much for being with me.